Hey, in this video, we're going to be talking to a homeowner whose recent experience with a roofer was so stressful for him, he literally had troubles sleeping at night. And so, what he's going to do is he's going to tell us what happened, what he did, and how everything turned out for him. Well, Michael, how can I help you?
Well, we just went through it all, and I don't even know where to start, to be honest with you. I entertained the thought finally of getting a new roof. So I guess I didn't fall victim to, but I was led astray by what I now affectionately know as a storm chaser. And I didn't know this term until I started watching videos like yours online. And again, until I finally hired a proper roofer who was also familiar with that term.
What state are you located in?
South Carolina. I'm outside of Charleston, South Carolina.
And you get hailstorms there?
Apparently we did. So yeah, leading me into what actually finally why I decided to go ahead and entertain the thought of a new roof, because my neighbors, I live in a community of about 250 houses, and my immediate neighbors right next door to me, two of them, one day they were talking about, they had a new roof, and we passed each other, and I had asked one neighbor how it was going, and he said, you should look into it because we had hail damage. And I said, well, I thought to myself, if you have hail damage, then I must have hail damage. When my neighbor said he had hail damage, I thought, all right, I'll entertain the thought of a new roof. Didn't seem like it was that old. The house only 20 years old. We originally come from up north. We've been down here for almost 20 years. It just seemed like the roof should last longer than that. So, I was ignorant to that thought too. I thought roofs lasted longer, but I guess here in the South, they really don't. So all summer long, guys would come into the house through the neighborhood and soliciting, and I kept shooing them off. Wasn't interested.
You mean just by like knocking on doors or something like that?
Doors. So when I walk out my front door at my house, I can pick out 15 houses, 16 houses in my immediate view. They've all got new roofs. The whole neighborhood was getting new roofs. And I was one of the last people to, like I said, I kept shooing off these salesmen that would come to the door. And then like my neighbor said he had hail damage. I thought, well, I'll entertain the thought. So not a day later, somebody else comes knocking on the door, and I said, yeah, all right, I'm curious. I want to know, do we have damage, and what's the cost? What is the price? Which from this first company, I never got a price.
So when you say the first company, you mean the company that knocked on your door that you finally said, okay, yeah, you can take a look.
Yes, I finally said yes to these guys. Should I not use their name? Probably shouldn't use their name.
Let's not use their name.
So it was a young college kid came knocking on the door, and I talked to him for a few minutes. He didn't feel like a salesman. I said, yeah, go ahead and let me know. We talked for maybe 15 minutes, and then he says, all right, well, my supervisor or manager will be by in an hour or two, and he'll get up there and take a look at it, at your roof. And
so this guy, the college kid, mm-hmm. His only role in this, if I'm understanding you correctly, his only role in this was just to get an open door for mm-hmm. somebody to come inspect the roof at a later time.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So in hindsight, now that 14 weeks have gone by, I can see how this all played out. But in the midst of it, from the beginning, I kept thinking to myself, I don't know how I'm being scammed. How am I being scammed? I'm not comfortable with this. And at one point, I felt like I was in too deep, but I'm getting ahead of myself.
Well, yeah, okay. So when we get to that point, be sure to let me know, what is it that made you feel uncomfortable?
Okay, so after this young man, he went about his way, which I again later saw. Matter of fact, he was in the neighbor. I'm getting ahead of myself again. But at Halloween, he and one other were in the neighborhood knocking on, and I ran into him when I was walking my dogs. Again, I'm getting ahead of myself. So the second salesman comes to the house a few hours later, and I immediately, I knew I could tell he was a salesman. But again, I wanted a price. This is my first time ever replacing a roof. I had no idea what how expensive it would be. Again, ignorant to the whole process. So he comes by, and he gets up on the roof. Again, in hindsight, looking back, I now know what he was doing. His job was to prove there was hail damage and to pressure me into making a claim, an insurance claim.
How did he do? How did he pressure you?
So that day, so he comes to the house and he's got the ladder and he gets up on the roof, and I was out there watching, and he's chalking up the roof and put marks all over the place, and I didn't really know what he was doing until I saw videos like yours and some other people. I don't have proof, but I'm fairly certain he was making it happen. But I wasn't. Again, I keep using the word ignorant, but I was ignorant to it whole process. So he was, how all the usual salesman questions and everything, and so then he leaves. A day or two later, he calls and he goes, "So, have you decided you want to make a claim on this?" So again, backpedaling, my neighbor who got me thinking about this whole thing, he says to me, his roof only cost him his deductible. It only cost him a $1,000 deductible, and I thought, that's crazy. Again, at this point, I still don't know what the price is on the roof. So the second guy comes back a day or two later and says, "Have you thought about making a claim on your house and everything?" And I said, "All right, yeah, I guess, yeah." I still didn't get a price from him. So he was there. There was an issue with my insurance company. I found out 2 weeks prior that our mortgage company was sold to a new insurance. So that's how I was able to shoo him off the first initial day. Then he came back and he's like, let me help you with making an insurance claim. And he didn't help me do anything. He was just there to pressure me. And I finally gave in, and I made the insurance claim thinking, all right, well, what's the cost of my deductible? That's too good to be true, but okay. If the neighbor's house was 14 grand or something, he only paid $1,000 for a roof. Okay, whatever. So I made the insurance claim. And then I don't hear from this guy again. And then it's probably a week or two, 10 days later, he calls and he says, did you get all the paperwork and everything you get from your insurance company? Itemizing what you've been approved.
He still hasn't given you any kind of an estimate. Okay.
He did say he does. He finally says to me, or on that phone call, I said, I asked again. I'm like, well, I didn't get any of the paperwork from the insurance company answering his question. I said, but what is the price? How do I know they're going to pay me? He says, well, we'll do the roof for what the insurance approves. We're going to do your roof for whatever price the insurance company approves. I hadn't known, but they could approve $22,000. Who knows? They could approve $5,000. I didn't know.
Yeah.
So I'm giggling because I clearly see the scam now that it's all been done, but I didn't know then, and I just keep thinking the ball was rolling. So then I got to think now. So then he tells me, he said, all right, when you get that paperwork, in the meantime, your insurance company is going to send out an adjuster. He's a guy's going to come, inspector is going to come look at your roof. He says, let me know when that happens so we can be out there and meet him. And I'm a painter, I'm a contractor. I paint the lines in parking lots. I'm thinking, all right, that's just business. I see inspectors. They inspect every handicap parking space that I paint. So whatever. So I don't hear from these guys. More time goes by, and then one day I get a phone call. And they left me a message, and it was a third person now from the same company, and he says, "I'm such and such. Your insurance inspector has time today, and we're going to be there this afternoon."
So wait a minute. So
he sprung it on me.
So somebody from the roofing company found out that the adjuster was going to be there and called you to tell you that.
Mm-hmm.
How did he find out that information?
I don't have any proof. But after they were there, I'm certain they knew each other. I don't want to make accusations. That's why I'm saying I don't have any proof. But one hand was greased.
Interesting. Okay.
So I get back to my house. I want to be home that day. I want to be there while this is happening. And the inspector gets out. He's a heavy guy. He gets out, and again, I'm a contractor, so I'm making small talk. And the roofer's up on the roof doing his thing, checking things out. Again, in hindsight, I'm pretty sure he's checking out the work that salesman number 2 did. I have no proof. That's what it felt. So I remember talking to the insurance guy, and he did say to me, he says, I know these guys. We've got 3 more houses that we're going to go look at this afternoon, take care of. He never got on the roof, but he struck me as
the adjuster.
The adjuster
never got on the roof.
The insurance inspector never got on the roof.
Okay.
He stood at his truck at the curb of my house. I stood there with him on a hot day, August, and I'm talking to him as the 1, 2, 3, third person that I've dealt with from the original company was on the roof checking things out. So he jumps down and says, yeah, they got such and such damage, blah, blah, blah. And the insurance adjuster tells me, all right, you're going to get your paperwork and emailed in another week or whatever, what you're going to be approved for. So again, I have no proof, but I'm most certain that roofer jumped off and said, it's $18,000, and the insurance adjuster just said, okay.
Okay. So, but regardless, right, of whatever was really going on, right, you're getting some red flags, right? There's some things that are happening that are giving you a gut check kind of feel.
I don't feel at this point that I'm committed. I do feel that the ball is rolling. I was thinking like, all right, what is the scam and how am I being scammed? It felt very used car salesman like.
Yeah.
And my wife kept asking me, why are you so uncomfortable with these people? I was embarrassed and ashamed that I at this point, I started to feel like embarrassed. Like, I feel like someone's getting something over on me, but I can't figure out what and how. So,
well, and probably also can't figure out how to backtrack out of it, right?
I couldn't figure. Well, so I didn't really sign anything just yet.
Yeah.
Right. Up to this point, it's all just verbal and handshakes. But they really had me convinced that they were doing the work or working along with my insurance company for my benefit. Because, again, ignorant to the process, I've never made an insurance claim. I was always told you're going to want to stay in good standing with your insurance company as long as you own a home. Don't make insurance claims unless there's a hurricane blows the house over. I never thought I'd be making a claim. I didn't know how any of this would be working. Now I get phone calls from the office. They want to schedule an appointment for another guy, fourth, fifth guy.
Yeah.
Fourth guy to come out and go over what shingles we want and everything.
So at this point, you've had the door knocker,
yeah,
who is just trying to get an appointment.
Mm-hmm.
Then you've got the guy on the roof doing the inspection. Then you've got somebody meeting the adjuster. Now you're going to have a salesman, right? Basically.
Yeah. I mean, they're all salesmen except for the first kid. But yeah. Now this is the salesman, I guess, who was, again, the used car salesman feeling where you're talking to a guy and he says, let me go clear that with my manager and I'll be back.
Yeah.
That was this guy. So made arrangements that my wife would be home that day. So we'd both be there. And now this other guy comes in the house. My wife immediately says to me, she goes, how come his truck's not lettered? Yeah, you're right.
You mean like the vehicle graphics, company graphics?
Yeah, the name's not even on. Just a shirt, nice shirt that says the business name. So anyway, again, I'm still entertaining the thought. I feel like the ball's rolling. So he sits down and he's like, okay, and he opens up and he's got my insurance paperwork and everything. I should go back. Though this was a mistake that I made. When I finally got the the paperwork, the saying what I was approved for. I shared it with salesman number. Yeah, that's all on me.
Okay, yeah, but I mean, originally when you said that, I thought somehow they got it from the insurance company.
They could have. I'm sure. I mean, I'm sure they could have if I didn't give it to them, but I did share it with salesman number 3.
Okay.
So now salesman number 4 shows up with it, and he's saying, "Okay, we're sitting at my kitchen table. He's friendly. We're approved for this, and we're approved for that, and we're going to go with this thing, and this is how we're going to do that." And walks us all through it, and then here comes the contingency, the signature, the paperwork is contingency paperwork, the contingency plan, which I signed, which I later found out doesn't mean a damn thing. Again, back to my used car salesman analogy. That's like when they say, "Can we agree on this price?" And you say, "Yeah." And he says, "All right, initial here, I'm going to go approve it with my manager." And he comes back. That doesn't mean anything. It just pressures you into thinking that you made a deal. I didn't.
Exactly right. Okay, but yeah, so they had you sign a contingency agreement at this point, not an actual contract for the re-roof project.
Correct. And it was a carbon copy, yellow piece of paper, split in 2. He got one and I got another. And then he hands me back a folder. I kept a lot of it. Folder basically hands me back my insurance paper. All my insurance papers, saying what I was approved for, plus which shingles we chose. So yeah, I signed that contingency paper, and then it was a day or 2 after that I started to panic. From that point,
what made you panic? What were you getting apprehensive about?
Still couldn't figure out what the scam was.
Got it.
I just had a gut feeling. I didn't like dealing with 5 different people who didn't seem like workers to me. They seemed like salesmen. Nothing against salesmen. You got to have a salesman. That's part of the being in business. I felt I was being pressured for. Again, I'm getting ahead of myself. So that last guy who came, gave me the contingency paper that I signed, was pressuring me into giving him my insurance check. Now I had first insurance payment came. I had it for about 3 weeks, I think. There was an issue with that too. I didn't know that I signed it, my wife signed it, and then my mortgage company had to sign it. So I had to go to another different bank. I'm sure you're familiar. So and I wanted to make sure that check would clear. So when that gentleman was at the house, pressuring me to sign the contingency paper, he was also pressuring me to give him over the insurance payment. I had the check, and my wife says, "Oh yeah, we've got it." And I interrupted, and I said, "No, we don't." So I'm
gonna stop you here. I'm gonna stop you here because this is a really important detail that you just brought up. So they've had you sign a contingency agreement, not a contract for the roof work, not a contract that specifies the scope of work that they're going to do, just a contingency agreement that basically is pressuring you to commit to using them, and they want money at that point.
Yes.
Yeah. So kudos to you. Well done for not giving them any money.
I remember saying something like, I don't have a problem giving you a down payment, but I thought the way this worked was that to satisfy the insurance company, I have to cover my deductible, which I thought would be the down payment. Now he and I are arguing back and forth at my kitchen table, and I straight up lied and said never got that first insurance payment check. We did, but I wasn't giving it up because all of everything I just shared with you up to this point, I still had uncomfortable feeling in my gut. Like I keep saying, I couldn't figure out how I was being scammed, but I wasn't going to hand over money yet. So after he left, again, I'm going to pat myself on the back for a second here. I noticed that through all these different salesmen, they all give me their card. On everybody's card, there was a different address. So I grabbed one. I called this 4th salesman who came to my house, So what's the address of your office? I'm coming by your office. This was a day or two after. He may have thought that I was coming to bring him money. I was actually working in the area. I drove by, and this really got me. Couldn't got to their office. It's a brand new office. They told me that they were only in there for a month. They had just moved there. It was a nice looking place. It was completely empty. There was one person there, one guy working at the office, sitting with a laptop, bunch of files and everything next to him. So now I really, really felt these guys are not roofers. They are all selling roofs and pressuring people for the insurance claim. So I went there. They let me in. And the guy behind the counter was as nice as could be, trying to walk me through the whole deal, telling me that they're going to deliver material. And I said, well, don't you think you should hold off on that until I've paid you? And then I quickly put that conversation to rest, and I left, and then started watching YouTube videos. But I had felt now panic started to set in, like, oh, I signed something. I don't want to use these people. I was ready to just accept the fact that if they were going to sue me, screw it. I'm still not going to use them.
And at this point, you still haven't signed a contract, right?
Never got a contract, never got a price. I even asked for their workers' comp, never got it. I asked for their insurance. I got their insurance, but it wasn't in the company's name. It was in for one person's name. Person, I assume he owned the business. Never met him, never spoke to him. Where do I go from here? So I panicked for 2 days, 3 days. A lot of shaking my legs, shaking my knees. Watching the YouTube videos, a couple sleepless nights, thinking, and I had to really work at it and tell myself, you didn't spend any money. There's no harm here. What are they going to do?
Yeah. Okay. So Michael, real quick, in that 2 to 3 day period, what was it that was making you so apprehensive? What were you nervous about? What did you think would happen?
Was thinking, like, what could they do if I broke contract with them? Are they going to hold me to a certain amount of money? Am I going to have to pay them to get out of this contract? Are they going to give me, what kind of hell are they going to give me?
There was probably, I'm going to guess, there was probably some language in that contingency document you signed that specified a certain dollar amount that they might charge you if you backed out. Is that right?
Nothing. I read through it. I really wish I had it within reach to hold it up. No, I probably shouldn't because I got the name on it. But no, there was nothing. Again, used car salesman analogy. It was all just gibberish, nonsense. There was nothing in there that could hold me to anything. It was all just worded to make me feel like I was stuck.
Yeah. Okay. So let's jump ahead then again, back to, you went out onto YouTube and you're looking for information. What happened? What did you find?
I saw a lot of videos, and I came across yours, which were the most informative and inviting, which is what led me to call you. I know at the end of your video, you were putting up your phone number because you wanted people in your area to call you. I think you were probably quite surprised when I called you from the East Coast, asking, can I have 5 minutes of your time? Because I wanted to hear from a professional if the sales tactics that I am dealing with, is that industry standard, or is my gut really, am I correct in feeling what I'm feeling? And can I get out of all of this without spending an absurd amount of money?
Okay. So you've got this contingency document, no contract. I'm sorry, I keep reiterating that, but for the viewers that are watching this, it's going to be important for them to understand the situation that you're in. All right. And so at this point, you've watched some videos, you've gotten some information. What did you then do? Did you call that roofing company and tell them you want out? What happened after that?
After watching some videos, I called a different contractor. which I really wish I just did from the beginning. A company that is well known, a company's office who I drive by once a week, a name that I know, a roofer that's been in business in this area for 30 years. I don't know why I just didn't call them from the beginning. I do know why, because I was pressured into thinking that this first company was doing all of the insurance claim work on my behalf. And again, they never spoke to my insurance people.
Well, and to your defense, their whole process is designed to circumvent your reasonable thinking of, I want to call somebody who I feel like I know, I feel like I can trust, somebody who I feel like has some credibility. I always say not every roofer that knocks on your door is going to rip you off, but every roofer that wants to rip you off is probably going to knock on your door, right? And their whole process is designed to rush through the process, to get you to make a decision without really being able to think it through. So to your defense, you say, well, why didn't I call this other roofer to begin with? It's because
everything was in motion, and
everything was in motion, and like I say, their process is designed to prevent you from making those kind of rational decisions.
And it was working. And that's the other thing I was struggling with. I was embarrassed, and I was feeling ashamed, like someone just got something over on me, and I was dealing with my own ego and feeling embarrassed and ashamed. But I called this other company. The girl answered the phone. I didn't tell her what I was going through. Just said I needed an estimate for my roof. I told her I put an insurance claim. That's all I told her. So within 2 hours, a guy shows up, and I immediately felt confident. I felt just he was. I just knew by the truck he drove, by the clothes he wore, by the how firm his handshake was, and the color of his skin. He had a tan. I knew that this guy was a worker. So he gave me a price. A day later, gave me a price, walked me through some stuff that they would do to the house, looked at the roof at that point, right then, there at the point. And I didn't need him to tell me if I had any hail damage. I already had an insurance claim. Again, in hindsight, I kind of wish I didn't make the insurance claim, because my wife and I make a good enough living. We could have paid for the roof, but that's a moot point. So after I got a price from this second company, which was remarkably different in price, it was this, but yeah, about $6,000 less
than the company that was working with the insurance.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay.
So I knew they were marking it up because they were in cahoots with the. I shouldn't make an accusation, but so after I finally did open up to the second contractor and told him, I said, well, no pressure from them at all. Gave me an estimate, emailed it. They were happy to do it, and I then reverted to back to the first roofing company, and I sent them an email. And I sat and I thought, chose my words carefully. I wish I printed it out so I could read it to you, but I told them, I tried to throw their words back at them. I said, I'm canceling our contingency fee. I think some of the things that you had mentioned to me in the phone call that we had stayed with me, and I was able to use some of that verbiage. And told them I wasn't comfortable with them. And I said, I told them in the email, you delivered no material. I gave you no money, no labor you committed no labor, performed no labor. Therefore, our contingency fee is null and void. I'm not going any further with you.
Yeah, let me for the viewers, let me kind of put this in context, because a lot of times what happens when a homeowner gets in a situation like this is the roofing company either has language in this contingency document that specifically says that if you back out of this, we're going to charge you a certain amount. And that could be 20% of the claim amount, 25% of the claim amount. But if you back out, they're going to want some money. And so kind of the position that Michael was in at that point. And what he's saying here is that, well, he hasn't given them any money. They asked him for money and he refused to give it to them. They haven't incurred any expense. That's important. The roofing company didn't incur any expense for any materials, nor have they incurred any expense for any labor. Therefore, if they're trying to charge him as the homeowner 20 or 25% of the claim amount, what is that 20 or 25% of the claim amount for? What is that money being charged to Michael as the homeowner for? And so that I kind of wanted to make sure that everybody understood those details, because what happened to you is not something that is uncommon, right? This kind of thing happens to people regularly. Okay, so I'm sorry I cut you off. Go ahead.
No, yeah, no, but you're explaining it better than again. I was ignorant to the whole thing. Didn't know that this is how it all worked or how it would all play out. So where was it? So after I sent them that email, now another day goes by and I'm cracking my knuckles and I'm nervous because I don't hear anything back from them. And then it dawned on me they're going to pretend like they didn't get my email. So their office had called, left me a message, and I had to muscle up. And I personally, I don't do well with conflict, but I called them. I called back, and before I did, I told myself, "Don't lose your temper. The first person to raise their voice is going to lose."
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah. And the guy at the office that I spoke about earlier, when I went to go check out their office, see their operation, he was just one guy sitting at a laptop with a lot of files. He's the one who answered the phone. He was pushy, he was aggravated, and said, "I'm going to need more than what you said in an email." He says, "I need reasons why you're uncomfortable." And as calmly as I could, I reiterated everything I said in my email, and then he started to get loud, and I said something. I said, "Look," he gave up when I finally called him out on what he was doing. I said, "You guys are taking advantage of the fact that I didn't fully understand how insurance claims work." And then he raised his voice and he says, "Oh, so this is about the money. You just want some of that money for yourself." And I said, "I'm not trying to make money on my insurance company." I said, and I told him, like I said to you a minute ago, "You never gave me your workers' comp.
They still haven't given you a contract.
I never got a price from you. I've had to deal with 4 different people. You're the 5th person. You're all very pushy." I said, I don't have to give you any more reasons than the reason I already gave you." And he had some choice words, and then that was the end of that conversation. And I felt better about it. Took my dogs for a long walk. Hour later, I get a text message. Now you preempted me to this, saying, "Be ready for the possible pushback you're going to get from them."
Yeah.
So,
okay. So in our conversation that you and I had on the phone, right, I was kind of coaching you through, telling you what to expect.
What could possibly happen.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Go ahead. Sorry.
So now I get a text message from guy number 2 saying, I'm so disappointed in your decision to cancel with us after all the work that we did for you, and we helped you make an insurance claim, and we inspected the roof, and I was walking with my dogs, trying to keep my heart rate down, not engaging into a conflict, and I chose my words carefully, and I texted him back 15 minutes later, and I said, I felt more comfortable going with a real roofing company, one that's not taking advantage of the fact that I didn't fully understand how insurance claims work. I said, I appreciate your time. I said, please do not call me back.
Well,
and
good for you. Good for you in taking your time before you sent that response, right? In thinking it through, trying to stay calm about it instead of just sending off an inflammatory text. Good for you.
And in our previous conversation, you and I, you had said this, and it worked out that way. That when you're like dealing with a bully, you can push and you can fight, but the bully's gonna cower when you call him out on what he is and what he's doing. So it wasn't like I could just argue with them on the phone because it would be
Right.
just an argument. But as soon as I pointed out to them that I now knew what the scam was and what they were doing and how they're trying to get one over on me, they backed off. Because the adult in me was, I just thought, just let this go, just go on with my life. I got other things to deal with, but I couldn't, because if I did that, they were going to keep coming. They did come twice more. So I got more phone calls, more messages, but they were only two, but they were weaker, and I responded to it. And then that was that until I pretty much the end of the story there. But I wanted to just add this on Halloween. Guy number one is now walking around with somebody else again in my neighborhood. So I'm off this day, and I go to walk my dogs. I'm walking out, and the one neighbor that's in my immediate view, who doesn't have a roof yet, she's a widow. The guy number one's at her door, and as my garage is opening up and I'm walking out with my dogs, he's yelling, calling my name, and I turn and I can see I'm not even at the end of my driveway, and he says, do you remember me? And I said, yeah, I remember you. And the neighbor says, hey, Mike, did they do your roof? And I said, no. And I'll give him the benefit of the doubt, may not have known. He said, what do you mean we didn't do your roof? I got it right here on my phone and everything. And then she says, guys, good, I'm good. And she goes back inside. And now, again, he's with somebody. It seems like maybe the guy's in training for sales. So now he's starting to follow me. This is 16 weeks after the fact. And again, I'm walking to my dogs, my one dog, and he's got questions. And I turned and I said, look, I'm not going to reiterate it. I'm not going to rehash this. This is done for me. He said, well, I got to know what happened. I thought we had a good conversation. And I did say to him, I said, look, maybe you don't know because you're guy number one. Maybe you don't know what your company is doing.
Yeah.
But guy number two knew. Guy number three knows. And he says, well, what happened? And I said, I decided to go with somebody else. I said, my insurance money is my insurance money to spend with whom I want. And
wait, Michael, right there. That point is so important, right?
Yeah.
Homeowners, listen to what he just said. Your insurance money is your money. It doesn't belong to the contractor. It technically isn't even really the insurance company's money. Once they write you that check, it's your money. Good point, Michael.
Yeah. Again, they pressured me into believing that they were doing work on my behalf. They didn't do any labor, but they were doing work on my behalf, dealing with my insurance company, to make me feel like I was obligated to give them this insurance money. And that's not that. I now know that's not the case, and that's not what happened.
Yeah. So you have a new roof now, is that right?
We have a new roof. It's great. It's great. We did it in 2 days.
Company number two did a great job for you.
Company number two did a great job for me. Did a great job. Didn't pressure.
Okay, what's their name? Company number two.
Company number two is Powell Roofing. Powell.
Powell Roofing.
All
right. Shout out to Powell Roofing. Hey, great job, guys.
Yeah, they did a great job. I knew they're workers, and I knew their name, and I wish I called them right from the beginning.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you to give us the people that are watching. Give us Michael's golden nugget. What's the one takeaway that you got that you want the people that are watching to take away from this video? What's the one most important lesson that you learned that you want people to learn?
Do more research than I did before starting this whole thing. Familiarize yourself with how insurance claims work. I don't mean auto insurance claims. I mean big insurance claims. Maybe if it's, I mean, I didn't even know how roofs go on and how shingles are layered. Just watch a couple of YouTube videos and get familiar with the process. And and that's coming from a painting contractor. I just assumed that I wasn't going to be taken advantage of, and I was certainly being pressured to, and was being taken advantage of. I just luckily had the hindsight not to spend any money and got out of it.
Yeah.
Don't sign anything. Don't sign anything, no matter how much the pressure. Get to know the contractor, not the 5 guys before him.
Yeah.
And don't be pressured to anything. Just take your time, because it's your roof, it's your house.
Now, be sure to watch this video right here about 10 roofing scams homeowners need to know about. And if you're going through the process of trying to choose a roofer, check out this playlist right down here.